This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
This episode of Squiz Kids is brought to you by Swysh. Swysh provide everyday Aussies with personalised shout-outs from their favourite sports stars, like Cameron Munster, Jack Riewoldt or James O'Connor. Check them out at heyswish.com.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Monday, August 23. In Squiz Kids Today, Paralympics, here we come. Antarctic airdrop rescue mission. Giants, demons, big weekend. And babbling bats and high-fiving apes. That's what's making news, kid style.
The lowdown.
When the Paralympics kick off tomorrow with an opening ceremony at the Olympic Stadium in Tokyo, if you look closely you might see a temporary tattoo on the arms, legs and torsos of athletes from all over the world. "We the 15, it will say. So, what does it mean? It's part of a major campaign which will be launched at the Games, reminding us that 15% of the world's population lives with a disability. Around the world, it's estimated that some 1.2 billion of us lives with a disability, which is just huge. And what better way to celebrate that fact than at a Paralympic Games, where, for the next 2 weeks, we'll be wowed by the skill, athleticism, and all-round awesomeness of some of the best athletes in the world. Some 4,400 athletes from 160 nations will take part in the Paralympics. 179 athletes from Australia. At the last Paralympics, Australia came in 5th in the medal tally, with 22 gold medals, an effort we're hoping to repeat this time around. The opening ceremony will kick off proceedings tomorrow night. Kind of late-ish at 9 p.m, but maybe you'll get permission to stay up. In the meantime, make sure you get up to speed on all things Paralympic with our excellent Squiz Kids Q&A with Aussie gold ball star Tian Taylor. I've put a link to it in today's episode notes.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a new story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Antarctica. Well, actually, the point is that we haven't landed in Antarctica, but bear with me. It's winter in the South Pole, and because it's minus 25 degrees Celsius, it's too cold for planes to land there without their engines freezing up. Usually, the Australian researchers who spend the winter at Mawson Station get their supplies from a ship that can smash through the thick ice to reach them. But this year, the icebreaker broke down, meaning there have been no fresh supplies since March. Wowzers. Imagine if no one in your house had been to the shops since March. So this weekend, the Australian Air Force pulled off a very tricky resupply mission. After flying the 5,000 kilometres to get to Mawson Station, they airdropped several months' worth of food, medical supplies and mail. Then the plane turned around and started the journey back, with a tanker transport plane flying alongside so that it could refuel in mid-air. Check your episode notes for a video about the operation and lovely photos of the researchers eating fresh fruit. How good must that have tasted?
Sport time.
And it was a big weekend in the sporting world as all the major winter sporting codes in Australia hurtle towards their final seasons. It's going to be an all-New South Wales grand final next weekend for the Super Netball after the Giants beat the West Coast Fever 64-61 on Saturday. The Giants will now face the Swifts in the grand final. Meanwhile, in AFL, the Melbourne Demons left it to the absolute last minute to kick the winning goal in their clash against the Geelong Cats on Saturday to just scrape their way to the top of the ladder and claim their first minor premiership since 1964. The minor premiership goes to the team that is at the top of the ladder going into the finals. And a special shout out to Jamaican sprinter Elaine Thompson-Herah, who clocked the second fastest women's 100 metre of all time at the weekend, running it in 10.54 seconds. Now that is fast.
Animal Kingdom.
Have you ever suspected that humans are just like bats? No, me neither. But a new study of bats by scientists in Costa Rica, which is a small country in Central America teeming with wildlife, has found that baby bats and baby humans have more in common than we ever thought. In the same way that human babies babble when they are bubs, making nonsense sounds as they figure out how to speak, baby bats do the same thing, making all sorts of silly noises as they work out how to communicate with one another. Meanwhile, our similarity to apes has also been underscored by a study which has found that just like humans, apes greet each other at the start of a conversation and say goodbye to one another at the end of it. Scientists studied chimps and bonobos in zoos across the world and found that just like humans, apes begin and end almost every social interaction with a hello signal and a goodbye signal, be it a wave, a pat, or a bumping of heads, or a fist bump. Well, actually, that last one may not be strictly true. And it's a big Squiz Kids salute to all the parents who have filled out the Squiz Kids Survey. You've all done your homework over the weekend like I asked, and the flood of responses is much appreciated. Teachers? Teachers. Yes, I know, it's a tough time for you out there. But I also know how much you download this podcast each day in your classrooms, and if I'm going to make it even better for you, I really need you to take the 5 minutes that's required to fill out the survey. Go on, do me a solid. And don't forget, everyone who completes the survey goes in the draw to win their choice of either a $200 Booktopia voucher or a $200 Rebel voucher. The link to the survey is in your episode notes, and I thank you in anticipation. It's time for the quiz, but before we jump in, Father's Day is around the corner. Have you worked out what to give your dad? Let me help you out. Swysh is a cool new service putting Aussies in touch with their favourite sports stars, providing personalised video messages from all the big names in all the big codes, from NRL to AFL, Union to cricket. If they're a big deal in the sports world, they're on Swysh and just waiting to send a custom-made message to your dad this Father's Day. You can ask them to thank Dad for being the best, to talk about a career highlight or entertain him with a funny memory, whatever you like. And the best bit? Part of the proceeds from every Swysh video goes to charities like the Starlight Children's Foundation and Variety. Check them out at heyswysh.com. That's Swysh, S-W-Y-S-H. But get in quick before the top stars sell out. There's a link to their website in today's episode notes.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What great big sporting event kicks off in Tokyo tomorrow? That's right, it's the Paralympics. Question number 2. On which great big frozen continent did a special delivery of supplies have to be airdropped? Yeah, it's Antarctica. Question number 3. Baby humans babble like the babies of what other animal species? You got it, they're bats.
Shout-outs.
It's August 23, the start of National Science Week here in Australia. And what better way to celebrate Science Week than to do a bunch of cool experiments, each of which can easily be done at home. I've stuck a link in today's episode notes to a bunch of cool experiments. The pasta rocket one is definitely my favourite. It's a special day also for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Grace from Fairfield Heights, Alex from Randwick, Alex from Waitara, Githanjali from West Ryde, Bailey from Kempsey, Sherwin from Henley Beach South, Sienna from Blackburn, Beth from Salisbury, Patience from Faulkner, Alia from Oakley, Sienna from Baldwin, Elka from Mossvale, Ardil from Lynbrook, Killian from Belfield, Molly from Hamlin Heights, Philip from Belrose, Lincoln from Termeil, and Scarlett from New South Wales. And a belated birthday wish to Mia from Springwood. Plus, because our friends in Melbourne, Canberra, and all of New South Wales are in lockdown, we're sending out home learning herograms. To Miss Ingram and Mrs. Douglas from 5B at St John the Apostle in Narraweena, and thank you from the class for supporting them through lockdown. Another herogram to Year 1 Echidna class and Year 4 Dingo class at the German bilingual school in Fitzroy North, who keep learning and working hard in their 6th lockdown. Also to the teachers and parents who are supporting all the kids. Zoe would like to send a home learning herogram to Anna, who teaches 5C at Fairfield Primary School, because she's done an awesome job teaching the class from home this year. Abby and Eva send a herogram to Mrs. Mortlock at Seven Hills West School, who teaches fantastic Zoom classes, and a shout out to the class KM. And one more herogram to Ms. Hainsworth at Beresfield Public School from Jake in class 56H. Plus a couple of classroom shout outs to those of you not in lockdown. To Mrs. Littlewood in Year 6 at Brisbane Adventist College. And Ruby in Grade 5 sends a shout out to Mrs. McAuliffe at Windsor Public School to thank her for all her help. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, or if you'd like to send a home learning herogram, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.